All right. I sit before you on my porch in the judgment seat, looking down on those who walk past my house and fence, watching them, judging them. My name is Phil, and you're listening to The Lip. Yeah. This is a very interesting episode, I hope. Part of a series for the summer. It's really just as self explanatory as it seems. I'm sitting on my porch, and I'm just gonna talk. I've got no notes for this episode. I'm just gonna use the environment around me. And if you really want, somewhat of a mirror behind me with my front window. It's kind of interesting. You can see the drugstore across the street. Maybe you might be able to catch a glimpse of the trees that are sort of hiding the dumpster from the drugstore. It's kind of interesting. I got a nice story about that I'm probably going to tell you while I'm sitting here. But yeah, 3-part series for the summer. If it goes well, and I continue to do this thing through another year, I might do this again next summer as well. And only during the summer. Because anybody who knows me knows that I do not like the cold. So I will not be sitting outside on a regular basis for an hour and some change past, I'm going to say October. Yeah, nope, not me. Look at me. I'm not even wearing my standard issue Dr. Pepper hoodie. I'm actually just wearing short sleeves. Something that you will start seeing me do more frequently now that the summer months are on their way. As I'm recording this, it's actually June 4th. Yeah. I'm going to give that truck a minute to go by. But yeah, it's June 4th as I'm recording this. Now, I may or may not release this on the 27th, which is the date that I originally planned on doing this. Because at that point, it would have actually been summer. And that's really what my focus was for these particular types of episodes. Thinking it through, as I came home from the gym, a little bit sore, back hurting a little bit, hip killing me, but functional nonetheless. Functional. With the way the temperature is right now, about 70 degrees, no wind, I feel pretty comfortable with the fact that I'm probably not going to have a major wind gust blow by and destroy my tablet. Really, it would be a bad thing, especially as I record. I have an episode coming out on June 6th, 2026, and that is currently hanging out within the guts of my tablet right now. So, if a gust of wind were to blow and knock over the tablet right now, it would destroy my tablet and my progress for that episode coming out on June 6th. In the perfect world, that gust of wind will not happen. This whole bit of diatribe that I'm going through right now will be completely meaningless because either way, by the time that this episode airs, whether I let it come out on the 6th, or rather not the 6th, the 13th or the 27th, which is the date that I had in mind, the episode on the 6th will have already been out. Now, this is such a strange episode, and I'm really kind of enjoying it already, and I haven't even done anything yet. It's absolutely fascinating, mostly because, well, since about mid-April, temperature's been good enough for me to sit outside for about half an hour to an hour, and I'm loving sucking up that vitamin D. I just do. It's more fun than you can imagine. But more fun than that is the joy that I get from being just high enough as I watch people walk by from my porch. I don't know. It's maybe if you were to create a straight line from the height from where I'm sitting to the sidewalk below, it's probably anywhere between 10 to 12 feet that I look down at the people as I walk by. But they're more entertaining than you could possibly imagine. It's a lot of fun watching people. Just to watch people. But from sitting at this exact spot here in the judgment seat, I have seen a lot of fun stuff. And I've seen a lot of crazy stuff. I've only lived in this house for going on 6 years. And yet, there has been quite a few eventful things that have gone down. But now, we're not going to hesitate to go any further. We're going to definitely make sure that this episode runs like any other. And as a result of that, I am going to prepare myself to ring the bell and, well, begin the main event. Oh, I forgot. Yep, this is real live recording here. So give me a minute. I completely forgot some stuff. I was so excited about the fact that I'm going to pretty much ad-lib this entire show. I forgot the good parts of the segments that I still need my information for. So just, I'll be right back. Oh boy. Just because, like I said, I'm going to ad-lib pretty much this entire episode, doesn't mean I still am not going to do my other segments. And I think that it makes sense to make sure that I have everything I had before I actually recorded. But why would I do that? That only makes sense, right? Well, the main event has begun. And what are we looking at as I'm sitting on the porch right now? Oh, garbage man's going by. Now, my favorite part about those guys is garbage pickup in this area is supposed to be Monday. Yeah. Recyclables too. This week, however, like happens from time to time, more often than not, they end up not picking up all the trash like they're supposed to. And wouldn't you know, this week of all weeks, they got the trash, but they left the recyclables. And so they had to come back on Tuesday to get that. Now, 100% they're supposed to have picked all of it up. But why would we do that? Again, that would only be too much like right. So why would we do that? Nope. Now, as I'm recording this episode, I'm looking down beyond the sidewalk and past the fence, and I see one of my how can I put it? One of my challenges in life. Turns out I've probably mentioned more than once that there's a school at the that side of my block across the street, and that school has very, very limited parking. And so what the teachers and staff do is they utilize this street as sort of auxiliary parking. Now, I get it, it makes sense. It definitely makes sense, right? You need to park, kids need to learn. Best way to make this all happen is to park on the side of the street where you can actually park. And I do stress the side of the street that you can actually park, because across the street where the school is, there is even less space to park. So there's maybe a handful of cars that might be able to make it and park on the side of the street where the school is. It's a matter of getting there early, I imagine, for the teachers. And that's probably how it works. They gotta get there as early as they can to get into the parking lot, or the administration has specific spots that are there for them, and well, the teachers just have to deal with it, right? And so, as I look down my block from my corner where I'm sitting at, there are teachers parked all down the street, plus the cross street at the end of my corner, and all the way down in the other direction, in both directions. Teachers have to park everywhere. Now, for me, this is challenging. Why is it challenging, you might ask? My driveway. That's what makes it challenging. From time to time, teachers sometimes park a little bit too close to the edge of my driveway, making it hard for me to get in and out. And with my mother having dialysis on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, obviously specifically on the Tuesdays and Thursdays, it makes it a little bit difficult to return, because if the cars are parked just right, it makes it awful tough to get past them. And sometimes I've had to use my bus driving proximity control and probably utilize inches of space between my car and theirs in order to get in my driveway. This is not a fun situation most of the time, but it's bearable, and I work with it, because early on, early on, when we first moved here, before the fence came, not only would they sometimes park halfway in the driveway, they would literally walk across the lawn, pretty much through my driveway, and across the grass to the sidewalk. Yeah, I understand the mathematical principle of the shortest route between 2 points is a straight line, but when that straight line cuts across someone's property and their grass, maybe you should have a little bit of, not even respect, but couth in general, and not do that. Of course, they couldn't manage to do that, so we had to, for lack of better terms, we had to make it so that they couldn't. So we had a fence put up. So nobody's cutting across the entire length of the lawn, through my driveway, across past my trees, all the way over to the parking, to the, what do you call it, to the sidewalk. So we eliminated that threat. Now, that doesn't mean that there are still some issues that happen from time to time when we were in the process of training these people not to walk on the grass and park in front of the driveway. There were instances where there's a stop sign on the corner, and maybe 15, 20 feet from the stop sign is a fire hydrant. And from time to time, teachers and or parents would park their car in front of the fire hydrant. Now, I don't know how you feel about parking in front of the fire hydrant, but for me personally, I don't really like it, especially when it's the one that is in front of my house. Because let's just say that it's the wrong day and there's a massive fire at my house. The hydrant that they would use to put my house out will be the one that's right next to my house. So if there's a car parked in front of the fire hydrant in front of my house, that's going to interfere with the ability of the fire department to put my house out. That's a problem for me. That's a big problem for me. I, over the last couple of years, I think I've probably called the police 3 times about people parking in front of that fire hydrant. But it's not that it's only my house that could burn down. I have a very elderly neighbor next door to me. And God forbid something happened to her house. They would use that same fire hydrant to put her house out as well. So it's a real problem for me when they park there. Now, back to the people who park in front of my driveway. I've had some very interesting conversations with some fantastic people who have chosen that empty space that leads up to my driveway as the place that they would like to park their car. Typically, I would do one of two things. The first thing that I would do is, if I'm in the house and I see it, I will drive my car all the way down the driveway and put it within 3 to 4 inches of their car. Usually that's enough incentive for them to quickly run back to their car, or if they're just sitting there waiting to get out of their car, to relocate. Most of the time that's what happens. Now, I've had to call the school several times to let people know that teachers and parents can't park right there. Occasionally they still ignore that. And when they do, I've had several occasions where I've had to try to get into my driveway, and there was a car parked in front of my driveway. That's my very favorite. I enjoy that more thoroughly than anything else I can think of. Because on those occasions, what I do is I will pull up to my driveway with an effort and all intentions to get into my driveway. And the car that's sitting there will be just comfortably relaxed and 99% of the time, it's a parent picking up their kid from school. And so they park there, walk down to the school, and it's usually 10 to 15 minutes. One time was like 20 minutes for this one lady. So what I do is I would park my car in a position where I'm essentially in the street with my turn signal on in the direction that I'm trying to go. And I just sit there. And what this does is it clogs up all the traffic in the area around my house. And it stays that way until the person finally shows up and moves. And when the person does in fact show up, I'm extremely cordial and I tell them just how much I appreciate the fact that they parked in front of my driveway. As we exchange pleasantries, I then tell them that the local authorities may be called to remove your vehicle if you don't remove it quickly. And this one particular lady was my very favorite because she was willing to sit there and wait for them to come. And I told her, well, yeah, they're going to come and you're going to get ticketed and towed. And personally, I would appreciate that because that would be a lesson that you would absolutely have learned. And you will be smart enough never to do it again. However, the people who do that do it very rarely now, as they know that I am always willing to speak to them about the issue in a manner that is, well, how could we put it? Aggressive? That's a good term to use. Aggressive. And typically, it turns the tide of the situation very quickly in my favor. And usually, that individual not only doesn't park in front of my house, they usually park on the other side of the street. Never the two shall cross again. Oh, are you okay, Jonathan? Oh, you're fine. Oh, that's not even Jonathan. That's Jonathan Jr. Who is Jonathan, you might ask? Jonathan is a squirrel who's been living and what I believe renting the tree spaces out around my house for the last 6 years. He just jumped out of the tree just a second ago. But that's not Jonathan, that's his son or daughter. I simply call that particular squirrel Jonathan Jr. Jonathan's a little bit larger, Jonathan Jr. is a little smaller. But now, back to the pleasant people who like to do things regarding parking around my house. One of my favorite ones was 2 years ago, I believe. Now, I understand. I do. I've got 3 kids. If you're going to tell your children to be at a place to pick them up, you want that place to be relatively safe and in the open, and a place where you can pick them up safely and everything goes smoothly. Now, for those practical purposes, usually a place like a parking lot is a good place to do it. Now, 2 years ago, there was a lady who drove a red Ford F-150. Never forget, because of how much I dislike Fords in general, but F-150s are the worst. And it turns out that she had 2 kids or 3 kids, and they were relatively young. I mean, young. Like, somewhere in the neighborhood of between third grade and first grade. Really young children. And one of the other children who was in the neighborhood, maybe a kid that was in sixth grade, would sort of guide these children from school and wait at a very particular spot for their parent. Now, because they're waiting in this very particular spot for their parent, you would assume that all parties involved would have known what was going on, and it was a good spot. Now, the spot that they chose to wait was at the corner of my property. At the very edge. And this is at a point once I got the fence put up. Some people would say that, oh, you're being petty for that. Let these little kids wait there for their mother to pick them up from school. What's wrong with that? Well, I'll tell you what's wrong with it. Number one, no, we'll start at the very bottom. We'll go 3, because there were 3 things that are wrong with it. Number 3, while they were waiting on my grass, stamping it down, they would be messing with my fence. That's a problem. I don't want you to play with my fence. Number 2, they felt entitled to be able to do that just because there was a nice little spot for them to stand and wait. And the most important part about this whole situation was, well, they never asked. Gonna let this ambulance pass. The fact that they didn't ask and chose to allow their children to wait on my grass, on my property, essentially is giving me some liability if something happens to her children on my property, which I wasn't consenting to. So let's say one of her children was in my grass and slipped and hurt themselves. Who are you gonna blame? The owner of the property. We're not playing that game. I had to quickly tell them, you can't do this, you gotta go. After I noticed the situation. And then I finally started talking to her mother, and I let their mother know, we're not doing that. And after what I would say were spirited conversations, the woman in the red F-150 has not been seen near my property since. An outcome that I believe is very pleasing and edifying to my soul. Because, like I said, the most important part of it was the fact that they just felt that, oh, we'll just stand right here. And in fact, one person actually questioned whether or not I owned that area. For the record, I don't know how it works around all of Philadelphia, but I know how it works around here. Very specifically, if you are to dig in an area near the sidewalk or the curb, you have to be 5 feet away from the curb. Now, I can't put my fence all the way up to the sidewalk or all the way up to the curb. There has to be that 5-foot space in between. And in the area where it bends, it's probably more like 10 or 12 around the fence. But yes, that is, in fact, part of my near 10,000 square feet. And so, if somebody were to get hurt on my near 10,000 square feet, who's at fault? I'm at fault. I'm not gonna have that. Sorry. Not in this life. We're not doing that. We're just not doing it. And so, another fun chapter had ended when it comes to people doing crazy stuff around my house. Just enjoyable. Oh, hold on a second. I like this. I gotta go do something else real quick. Just hold on. This is just what happens when you're doing a show and you're outside, because you remember things that you didn't do prior to. I just said I saw Jonathan Jr. And one of the things I like to do is give them nuts. And I forgot to do it. So give me a second more and I'll be right back. Sorry about that. It's just really rude of me to not deliver the nuts when I'm supposed to. Jonathan and his children, I give them nuts probably once every week, every 10 days. Because they're fun little guys. I like them. Always enjoyed them the entire time I've been here. And boy, I believe I've told the story about Jonathan, which of course still works here while I'm sitting on the porch. It's a good story to tell, I believe. I was watching one day, and my kids, I believe it was Maggie who saw it. Yeah, it was Maggie and me both. We saw two different things. Number one, Maggie saw an owl sitting in one of the trees that Jonathan and his children usually frequented. And then across the street was this giant hawk. And, well, both of those are birds of prey. Big, hungry birds of prey that were looking at Jonathan and his children and were like, you look delicious. I think we'll eat you. Of course, the owl would wait until nighttime when Jonathan and his children were sleeping and attack and try to eat them then. And then the giant hawk, well, while the sun was shining, he would be looking to feast upon Jonathan and his children then. Now, here comes the part that I find most interesting. Laugh if you want. This is true. It really is. And it's funny to think this way. A murder of crows has been floating around here for the last 5 years since I've lived here. I haven't seen the hawk or the owl up until that point. We're talking, this was last year when all this happened. And it turned out that I saw Jonathan the squirrel and two or three crows sort of sitting in the tree together. And within 3 days, the hawk relocated to another spot. And I hadn't seen the hawk since. And the owl was gone too. And you want to know about how interesting this is? This is probably the coolest part about this whole story. Turns out that crows and owls are enemies. I looked it up. It's crazy. Wouldn't you know that they really hate each other? During the day, when there's eggs from the crows, owls will try to take them out. And at night, other way around, during the day, owl eggs are vulnerable, and crows will try to destroy the owl eggs. And at night, sometimes the owls will try to retaliate. Hold on just a second. Well, sometimes you get phone calls in the middle of recording and you just got to kind of stop and deal with it, right? That's what we did. But yeah, to make a long story short, I believe that the crows made an arrangement with Jonathan the squirrel to stop the owl and the hawk. And as a result, they ended up having some sort of friendship. And every now and then I would see a hawk, but the hawk would be, I don't know, 7-8 blocks down the road, nowhere near where we are. The crows sort of keep him away. And the owl, I haven't seen the owl ever since that little conversation between Jonathan the squirrel and the crows. So that ended that whole thing pretty abruptly, I think. interesting to see how these animals work together. It sounds like absolute madness and something that you could write in a children's book, but for sure, this definitely happened. You would think that I would put this in a fact or fiction episode. It's so bizarre. But it really did happen. It's kind of funny. Next. Hmm. I believe I've mentioned quite a few times, sitting on the porch, you could see one of the coolest spectacles that happens during the summertime season, and that is the fireworks for all the patriotic holidays, and even Mother's Day. This year, I believe there was fireworks for Mother's Day. Yeah, there was. And I believe there was fireworks the last couple Mother's Days as well. And it just seems like here in Pennsylvania, man, fireworks are cheap, they're accessible, and in the area just outside my house, there are a couple good spots where people like to shoot them off. And during Memorial Day, I was a little disappointed this year because there weren't any fire. No, no, I'm wrong. There was fireworks, but it was only a small amount of fireworks. It wasn't the same large amount of fireworks that I usually see on a regular basis. It was a small amount this time, just a small amount. Normally, from where I'm sitting on the porch, you could see fireworks coming from that direction over there, as well as over in that side by where the school was at. And sometimes there's also fireworks that you can see just in that direction towards the left of the school from my perspective. But it turns out that this year on Mother's Day, which is why I was so surprised when I didn't see him at first, but I did hear him until I finally walked out. I had to go look all the way to my left. Usually there isn't any fireworks in that direction, but apparently it's what they're doing now. They're putting them out on this side now, over there. And there weren't any in the other directions on Mother's Day. I can only hope that that for the 4th of July, that they go all out and there's fireworks all over the place. Now, I know what I've said. I did say Mother's Day, yeah. Memorial Day, for some weird reason, they didn't use any. They must have used them all up on Mother's Day, but they didn't use any on Memorial Day. It's odd. Very odd. So hopefully they catch up, and maybe they were just trying to save them and get a whole bunch together and just buy every firework that they possibly can so they can use them for the 250th anniversary of the United States and just go all out, which is going to make a really interesting time sitting here on the porch listening to all those fireworks, because it'll be pretty cool. See them from all directions, hear them from all directions. I can certainly tell you that I'm hoping that it's a really, really nice day, and we got a nice clear sky so you can see them nice. And the best part about it is it's a Saturday, so of course I'm going to have a show released on the 4th of July, and it would be even cooler if during that show, while I'm watching, actually, I'm not gonna, the show's gonna be recorded before, obviously, but during that day, I'm really hoping that there's a lot of fireworks, because this is the 250th anniversary of the country. Happy birthday. We really need a big, big party, especially the fact that I'm in Philadelphia, birthplace of the nation. They signed the paperwork announcing to the world that we are a country here, So we've got to do it big. Really bigger than anywhere, you would think, right? Can't wait for that. That'll be a fun, exciting time. Well, got a few more things I want to talk about, and one of them is, well, I told you about the dumpster across the street, which of course is covered up by a bunch of bushes. Now, when I first moved in, the area where those bushes are, a couple small trees, turns out that there was a an individual who would park on the parking lot of the what is that place over there? The drugstore. Jump out of their vehicle and go to the bathroom in those bushes. And it would happen so frequently, like every day. The guy would park, get out, go pee. And as I was watching this, I said to myself, self, apparently this is what this guy's going to do. And so I made sure that he and everybody else knew that you're not going to pee anywhere else. This is the spot to go. I went right to the Home Depot, maybe half a mile down the road. Went to the section where they have all those signs, and I found a sticker sign that said men's room. Bought that sucker. Walked it down to those bushes. Put that sticker on the fence by where the dumpster is, where everybody peed. And so that there's no mistake that this is in fact a men's room. That sticker has sat there since 2021. Still there now. Every so often I go check just to make sure it's still there. People do know that that is in fact a secret men's room. But the guy who kept peeing over there must have realized, oh, somebody's watching me. Yeah, somebody saw you. And somebody called you out on it. And sure enough, as a result of that, he hasn't gone over there to pee. And I don't think anybody else has either. Well, I do think that I have answered a few phone calls and done a few emails while being on this show. Even fed the squirrels. So I think that maybe it's time for me to shut the show down and not tempt fate anymore, because, like I said, it's a gorgeous day right now here on this magnificent June 4th, and I'm going to be smart about this and try to get out of here without a major wind gust, in fact, destroying the tablet. So we're going to ring the bell right here, right now, and move on to the next couple segments. All right. Of those segments, we're going to start off with the spear of the week, because boy, if there's a place that generates a spear of the week, my goodness, this would be it. And since this is going to air after the school closes, I should most certainly use this spear right here for this one. And without a doubt, it absolutely has to be the cars that park just far enough outside my driveway to make it difficult for me to make a left turn out. Because I gotta inch out every so often, a little bit more, so I can make that turn so I can see what's going by. And boy, when it's one car, it's a pain, but it's not so bad. But when there's two cars there, now you gotta try to stretch yourself all the way around to sort of see, and it's a problem. It's a problem. So I'm actually looking at a car right now that's in that position. So without a doubt, you there, you're the spear of the week. All right, let's see if I can find the connection between three things. What do they have in common? What do they have in common? We're gonna go kind of quick because, like I said, I'm not tempting fate with the wind. And right now we're winning. Right now we are winning. There is no wind. Oh, those are the answers. Okay, so we're gonna flip it around. We're gonna pull it back around. All right, let's see. This is an easy one, and we'll do this one because I'm pretty sure I got it. The three things are sucker, Sunday, and haymaker. The answer's got to be punch. And sure enough, it is. All three of those are punches. Sucker punch, Sunday, and a haymaker are all punches. And nailed that one down pretty quickly, pretty easily. And now we're going to go to one of these great questions. Let's see what we got here. Here's one. Have you ever taken a horse-drawn carriage ride? The answer is yes. The horse's name was Bob. It was on. Was it the honeymoon? No, that was not on the honeymoon. It was on a trip that we took before the kids. It's a pretty fun little ride. Bob was a fun horse, and he did just sort of trot along. He's a fun guy. In fact, I did go on a horse-drawn carriage ride. So that is going to be the question out of that book. All right, the wind is starting to blow right now, so we're going to really try to ramp this up. check me out on Instagram at PhilipHenderson5102. Um, join us. Join us on the Lip Facebook page. Join us. There's always room for one more member, no matter how many members we get. Join us. And you can always absolutely subscribe to at Phil the Lip here on YouTube. You can catch all the content, not just these shows. And now finally, the words of wisdom. I take a deep breath and just enjoy the outdoors. And like right now, I'm telling you, this was a great idea to sit on the porch and do this show, because not only does it get my time outside, but it's just a perfect day. It's absolutely perfect. Like I said, right now there's really no wind. There isn't a cloud in the sky. The sun is out. It's a great day. So the words of wisdom that I have are: take some time, go outside, enjoy the day. That's what I got for you. Take some time, go outside, enjoy the day. And that's all I got for you. So I'm going to let you know what you already should know. My name is Phil, and you've just listened to The Lip. Alright. Gonna sit out here for another hour or so, I think. At least.